In 2019, when the team cleaning out Billie Holiday's personal belongings found a 127-page handwritten diary in a secret compartment of her bedroom, one of the biggest secrets in music history was about to be revealed. In those pages, Lady Day had recorded everything she experienced from the 1940s to 1959. FBI surveillance, secret love affairs, the real reasons behind her heroin addiction, and most shocking of all, the horrifying truth behind her confession, "I was never free." Found 60 years after her death, this diary would completely rewrite the FBI's 21-year surveillance operation, the real reason Strange Fruit was banned, and the suspicious circumstances surrounding Lady Day's death. But the most terrifying detail was this sentence written on the diary's last page. "Before they killed me, they tried to make me forget who I was." Don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you won't miss the shocking truths that emerge from this diary. Because these confessions written in Lady Day's own hand will change everything you thought you knew about her. Harold Jovian, the Brooklyn antique specialist who took on the job of cleaning out the old Manhattan house, had only come that Tuesday morning to do routine work. The house, which had remained unchanged since Billie Holiday's death in 1959, was finally being sold, and Jovian's task was to catalog the valuable items. While working with the old wardrobe in the bedroom, he heard a strange sound coming from behind the wall. When he investigated, he discovered a secret compartment built in the 1940s, a hiding place left over from Prohibition. Inside this compartment, in a special box protected from moisture, lay a 127-page handwritten diary. When Jovian opened the diary's first page, the writing he encountered shocked him. Date, June 12, 1940. "Today I realized I was never free. I thought slavery was over, but I was wrong. Now my owners have different names: FBI, record companies, club owners. My chains are invisible but so heavy I can't breathe." This first entry revealed the dimensions of the systematic oppression Lady Day lived under. The diary's dates stretched from 1940 to 1959, exactly from when the FBI started monitoring her until her death. The most surprising detail was why Lady Day had hidden this diary. On page 15, she wrote, "I decided to write this diary because someday someone needs to tell the truth. The FBI watches my every move, records my every word, but they can't hear my voice. In these pages, I am who I really am." These sentences showed that Lady Day wasn't writing the diary just for personal memories, but as a testimonial document she would leave for future generations. The most striking sections of the diary were those related to FBI surveillance. In her October 23, 1940 entry, Lady Day wrote, "Today I sang Strange Fruit for the first time. Everyone in the club fell silent, but I noticed the man standing in the back was taking notes. Then I learned he was an FBI agent, so my voice scares them that much." This entry gave exact details of the moment the FBI began monitoring Lady Day, just 2 days after singing the song. In her October 25th entry, there was a shocking detail. "The black car parked across from my house is there for the third day. The driver takes notes every time I go out. This isn't paranoia anymore, it's real." The diary also clearly stated the names of FBI agents. Agent Robert Wilson approached me, introduced himself as if he were a music lover, but the questions he asked weren't innocent at all. He asked if I had connections to the Communist Party, who wrote Strange Fruit, why I continued singing this song. My answer to him: because it tells the truth. These entries revealed the FBI's tactics for approaching Lady Day. Agents would introduce themselves as music fans, then switch to interrogation mode. The most horrifying part was how the FBI interfered with Lady Day's private life. In her March 8, 1943 entry, she wrote, "Jimmy left me. Then I learned that the FBI had visited him, told him that being with me would harm his career. They're not just killing my songs, they're killing my loves." This detail showed how the FBI used systematic strategy to isolate Lady Day. They targeted not only her professional life but her personal relationships as well. One of the diary's most surprising discoveries was about how Lady Day's heroin addiction began. Her February 14, 1947 entry contained information that would have bombshell impact. "Dr. Martinez told me the medicine he gave me was just painkillers, but Jimmy Monroe told me the truth. It's heroin. The doctor works with the FBI, trying to keep me under control by making me addicted. Now I understand why I need more every day." This confession revealed that Lady Day's heroin addiction wasn't just a personal choice or weakness, but the result of systematic manipulation. The diary contained more detailed information on this subject. Since the FBI can't arrest me, they're trying different methods. An addicted woman is a controllable woman, but they don't know that even if I'm addicted, my song's power doesn't diminish. It actually increases. The greater my pain, the stronger my voice becomes. Lady Day also recorded how her addiction affected her strange fruit performances. On good days, when I sing the song, I only feel its pain. On bad days, the song's pain merges with my own pain, and the voice that emerges shakes the entire room. Maybe the FBI's plan backfired, it made me stronger. These entries showed how Lady Day maintained and even increased her artistic power despite her addiction. The diary's most personal sections dealt with Lady Day's love life. In her August 30, 1944 entry was a shocking confession. My relationship with Tallulah is no longer secret. The FBI knows about this and is using it to blackmail me. They said if you don't want us to talk about your girlfriends, stop singing Strange Fruit. But I won't give up. Both my love and my music are my areas of freedom. This entry revealed how the FBI used Lady Day's relationship with Tallulah Bankhead as a pressure tool. In that era, homosexual relationships weren't socially accepted, and the FBI used this situation as leverage against Lady Day. However, the diary details showed that Lady Day didn't succumb to these pressures. Another entry described how her male lovers were manipulated by the FBI. I learned the reason for Joe Guy's sudden coldness. The FBI approached him, told him he'd be arrested on drug charges if he didn't stay away from me. Now I can't trust any man. Which one is a real lover? Which one is an FBI agent? This situation increased Lady Day's loneliness and distrust in her emotional life. The most painful detail was this: even my mother Sadie is giving information to the FBI. The day I learned this, my world collapsed. How can I live with the fact that my own mother sold me? This confession showed how even Lady Day's closest family bonds were corrupted by the system. One of the diary's most valuable sections was the part that told the story of Strange Fruit's banning process firsthand. In her May 18, 1941 entry, Lady Day wrote, "I got a call from Columbia Records today. They told me I could no longer record Strange Fruit. When I asked why, they said orders from higher up. Which higher up? The FBI, of course. They're so afraid of my voice's power." Later entries described in detail how the ban spread. Now clubs are starting to ban the song too. The owners tell me if police come, there'll be trouble. The FBI isn't just blocking record companies, they're preventing live performances too. But I won't give up. This song is my duty, my responsibility. Lady Day's determination to continue singing the song despite the bans was felt on every page. The most striking detail was how systematically the FBI worked to prevent the song's spread. Radio stations were called one by one, told their licenses would be revoked if they played the song. Music magazines were also pressured, warned not to write positive articles about me. They're trying to silence me, but every time I sing, my voice gets stronger. These entries revealed the dimensions of systemic censorship. The diary's final sections dealt with Lady Day's last days in the hospital, and these parts perhaps contained the most shocking details. In her July 10, 1959 entry, she wrote, "Even when I was hospitalized, they didn't leave me alone. 2 police officers are waiting at my door. The nurses tell me it's for your safety, but I know they want to control me until the very end. Even while dying, I'm not free." Even more shocking was that the FBI tried to get information from Lady Day even in the hospital. Agent Patterson came today, introduced himself as a doctor, but I recognized him, the man who's been following me for years. He hoped I'd confess while under the influence of morphine. I didn't say a word to him. I'll stay silent until my last breath. This detail showed that the FBI disturbed Lady Day even on her deathbed. The diary's last entry was dated July 15, 1959, just 2 days before her death. "I know I don't have much time left. I hid this diary because someday someone needs to tell the truth. I was never free, but maybe these words will free others someday. I kept singing Strange Fruit, because that song is bigger than me. They can kill me, but they can't kill that music." These final words showed Lady Day's belief that her music would live on despite her death. After the diary was found, the claims made in the writings were cross-checked with FBI archives. What was surprising was this: almost every detail Lady Day wrote matched FBI files. The agent names, dates, and events mentioned in the diary were also found in the FBI's own records. This situation proved the diary's authenticity and showed how detailed observations Lady Day could make. When the claims about Dr. Martinez were investigated, it was revealed that the doctor indeed had connections to the FBI. In the 1940s, the FBI would inform doctors treating people they considered suspicious, sometimes persuading them to cooperate. Lady Day's confessions in her diary were a concrete example of this practice. The details about her relationship with Tallulah Bankhead also proved true. When compared to Hollywood archives of the era, it was documented that the two women indeed formed a close friendship in the 1940s, and according to some sources even had a romantic relationship. Notes were also found in FBI files evaluating this relationship as a national security risk. After the diary was found, detailed analyses were conducted using modern forensic techniques, paper age testing, ink analysis, and handwriting comparison confirmed that the diary was definitely authentic. Handwriting expert Dr. Jennifer Walsh from Harvard University stated, "The writing in this diary definitely belongs to Billie Holiday. The characteristic features of the handwriting match existing samples 100%. Even more interesting was that the ink used in the diary was from the 1940s period. Modern laboratory analyses showed that the chemical composition of the ink on the pages was compatible with fountain pen inks used in that era. These technical details were definitive proof that the diary wasn't fake. Additionally, the age test performed on the paper confirmed it was written between 1940 to 1959. The chemical changes the paper underwent, due to moisture and oxygen exposure, storage conditions, and dating analysis results were consistent with each other. All this scientific evidence made the diary's authenticity indisputable. Lady Day's diary also contained references to other famous artists of the era, and these details also attracted great interest. About Duke Ellington, she wrote, "Duke supports me, but not openly. He constantly tells me to be careful. He's also afraid of the FBI, but he calls me at night, gives me moral support. At least I feel like I'm not alone." These entries showed the secret solidarity network among Black artists of the era. There was also an interesting entry about Ella Fitzgerald. "Ella visited me today. I asked her what she thought about Strange Fruit. She said, 'I can't be as brave as you, but keep singing it, you're singing for all of us.' Sometimes just feeling other artists' support is enough." These details showed that Lady Day was trying to voice not just her own struggle, but the entire Black artist community. A conversation with Louis Armstrong was very striking. "Pops told me the system won't change. We have to change." I told him no, I'll stay constant, so the system has to change. He laughed, but there was sadness in his eyes. Maybe he knows my path is harder. This dialogue reflected the different struggle strategies among Black artists of the era. One of the diary's most bombshell sections was the entry showing that Lady Day sensed her own death in advance. In her May 3, 1959 note, she wrote, "I saw myself in a hospital in my dream. There were police at the door and I couldn't breathe. This dream was so real that when I woke up, I checked my chest. It was like a warning." This detail showed that Lady Day sensed what would happen to her about 2 months before her death. Even more shocking were the suspicious statements about the FBI's role in Lady Day's death. The diary read, "Dr. Williams won't explain what the medicine he's giving me is. When I ask questions, he gives evasive answers. I sense he has connections to the FBI. Maybe he's trying to kill me slowly." While these claims couldn't be proven, they raised new questions about the suspicious circumstances surrounding Lady Day's death. The most striking detail in the diary's final pages was this: "They don't need poison to kill me. When they killed my freedom, my soul had already died. Now only the body remains." These words showed how worn down Lady Day was spiritually long before her physical death. The system had already succeeded in destroying her spiritually before physically killing her. The discovery of these diaries mobilized music historians. The systematic oppression Lady Day experienced was no longer a theoretical claim, but documented reality from a first-hand source. Music historian Professor Michael Roberts from Harvard stated, "This diary requires us to reevaluate the music industry of the 1940s. The oppression Lady Day was subjected to was probably experienced by other artists as well." The details from the diary also strengthened Strange Fruit's place in music history. It was understood that the song wasn't just a powerful protest song, but also a symbol of individual resistance against systemic oppression. Lady Day's every performance was actually an act of courage, and this courage would cost her her life. Modern artists also stated they were greatly inspired by the diary. Names like Beyoncé, Alicia Keys, and John Legend noted that Lady Day's experiences were still relevant for today's artists. Although the system looked different, the pressure and control mechanisms applied to artists continued in similar ways. One of the most important studies conducted after the diary was found was cross-checking with FBI archives. Documents released under the Freedom of Information Act showed that almost every claim in Lady Day's diary had a counterpart in FBI files. This situation both proved the diary's authenticity and revealed the dimensions of the oppression the FBI applied to Lady Day. The results regarding agent names were particularly surprising. Agent Robert Wilson mentioned in Lady Day's diary was indeed a name in FBI records who worked in the artist's surveillance unit. Wilson's name was clearly written in the list of agents following Lady Day's file between 1940. This detail showed how careful observations Lady Day made. When the claims about Dr. Martinez were investigated, even more surprising results emerged. Martinez's name appeared in FBI archives on the cooperating doctors list. Documents were found showing that in the 1940s, the FBI convinced doctors treating people they considered suspicious to cooperate by forcing them. Lady Day's addiction story had now taken on a different dimension. One of the most painful details in the diary was about how Lady Day was betrayed by her own family. When the claim that her mother, Sadie Fagan, gave information to the FBI was investigated, it was revealed that Sadie's name indeed appeared as an information source in FBI files. In her March 12, 1943 diary entry, Lady Day wrote, "I learned that my mother sold me. The FBI pays her. She gives information about my private life. I can't trust anyone anymore." This betrayal was destroying Lady Day not only materially but emotionally. In the diary, she expressed her disappointment with her mother this way: "How is it possible for a mother to sell her daughter? Does she love money that much or hate me that much? Both are killing me." It was understood that Sadie's betrayal played a major role in deepening Lady Day's trust issues. Even more painful was that Lady Day tried to protect her mother despite everything. She wrote in the diary, "My mother is selling me, but I still love her. I don't say anything bad about her to the FBI. Maybe this is my greatest weakness, continuing to protect the people I love." This situation showed the noble side of Lady Day's character, while also revealing how open she was to systematic manipulation. The diary's final entries contain Lady Day's thoughts on her deathbed, and these sections were perhaps the most valuable parts. In her last notes written on July 16, 1959, one day before her death, she wrote, "I feel like I'm leaving tomorrow. My pain has decreased, but my heart is beating fast. The nurse is trying to comfort me, but I know. Even the FBI knows I'm going to die. The number of police at my door has decreased. They must not be afraid of me anymore." In this final entry, it was seen that Lady Day accepted her death, but still maintained her rebellious spirit. "They succeeded in silencing me, but they couldn't silence my music. Strange Fruit will continue to be sung. Maybe I'll die, but that song will never die. This is my victory." These words showed Lady Day's belief that her legacy would live on despite her death. When experts examined the diary, they noticed that Lady Day used a coded language in some of her entries, especially during periods when FBI surveillance intensified. Instead of giving direct names, she used code names. White Scorpion represented the FBI, Eagle represented Strange Fruit, and Gardener represented friends who protected her. This coded language system showed how paranoid an environment Lady Day lived in and how she took precautions against the risk of even her diary being discovered. The most interesting code name was Nightbird, and this name appeared frequently throughout the diary. Experts think this code represented Lady Day herself. Entries like "Nightbird sang again today but White Scorpion was listening" suggested that Lady Day was trying to protect herself psychologically by seeing herself as a third person. This technique was a common coping mechanism seen in trauma victims. Decoding the coded messages also increased the accuracy of information from the diary. Entries like "Gardener brought flowers to Nightbird today" coincided with days when Duke Ellington visited Lady Day. These details showed that Lady Day wasn't just paranoid, but also someone who thought very systematically. After the diary was published, modern artists stated they were greatly affected. Beyoncé shared on her social media, "What Lady Day experienced shows us that the power of art always scares the system. Her courage lights our way." This post was shared millions of times, showing the diary's impact in the modern era. Alicia Keys made a more detailed statement. "What I read in this diary deeply shook me. The systematic oppression experienced in the 1940s continues today in different forms. Lady Day's experiences serve as a warning for us." Keys also announced that there would be a song dedicated to Lady Day on her new album. Hip-hop artist Kendrick Lamar noted he was particularly affected by the diary. The price Lady Day paid allows us to speak freely today. This diary shows what a great hero she was. These statements showed how Lady Day's legacy lived on between generations. Music history professor Dr. Angela Davis from Columbia University said about the academic importance of the diary. This document is critically important not only for music history but also for America's social injustice history. What Lady Day experienced is a perfect example of how systemic racism and gender discrimination combined. Davis's statement showed how the diary was evaluated in academic circles. Sociologist Professor Jennifer Alexander from Harvard emphasized the diary's sociological importance. This document reveals the double oppression experienced by Black women in 1940s-1950s America. Lady Day's experiences are a unique resource for understanding the social dynamics of that era. This academic interest increased the diary's historical value. Music theorist Dr. Robert Chen from Yale University explained the diary's importance from a musicology perspective. The connection Lady Day established between trauma and art is revolutionary from a music theory perspective. We have the chance to observe firsthand how pain transforms into art. These evaluations showed that the diary opened doors to multidisciplinary studies. After the diary was published, there was no official statement from the FBI. This silence was particularly noteworthy because the diary contained very serious allegations about the FBI. Civil rights advocates interpreted this silence as a sign that the FBI couldn't find arguments to deny the allegations in the diary. Former FBI agent and whistleblower Mark Fleming said about the diary, "The oppression the FBI applied to Black artists in the 1940s was real. The details in Lady Day's diary are consistent with the standard procedures of that period." The FBI's silence shows they're having trouble denying these allegations. Fleming's statement increased the credibility of the diary's allegations. Civil rights lawyer Charles Williams called on the FBI to make a statement about the diary. "The allegations in Lady Day's diary are very serious. The FBI must make a statement about this. The American people have the right to know about the wrongs done in the past." These calls increased the diary's social impact. Perhaps the most powerful aspect of Lady Day's diary was the message it left for future generations. In one entry, she wrote, "As a woman writing this diary, I address future artists. If you're scaring your system, it means you're on the right path. They tried to silence me, but I didn't give up. Don't you give up either." These words continued to inspire today's artists. In another entry, she wrote about the power of art. "Music isn't just entertainment, it's revolution. Every song I sing shakes the foundations of the system. They're afraid because they know this. Artists must be aware of this power." This perspective influenced today's artists' understanding of social responsibility. The most striking message was about freedom. "Freedom isn't a gift, it's a war that must be won every day. I lost this war, but you can win it. Raise your voices, reject fear." These words showed that Lady Day's legacy was not only musical, but also political. After this valuable document was found, special measures were taken for its preservation using technological methods. The Smithsonian Institution scanned the diary digitally, at 4K resolution, creating perfect copies of every page. Additionally, using virtual reality technology, a three-dimensional model of the diary was created, allowing researchers to work without damaging the original document. Through collaboration with IBM, the handwriting in the diary was analyzed with artificial intelligence. This analysis could even detect the emotional changes Lady Day experienced while writing. The trembling and pressure changes visible in her handwriting, especially during periods when FBI surveillance intensified, objectively showed the stress Lady Day experienced. The project with Google Arts and Culture organized the diary as an online museum. People from around the world could examine the diary through this platform, read experts' comments, and follow Lady Day's life on an interactive timeline. This technological approach increased the diary's impact on a global scale. This 127-page diary found in 2019 proved that Billie Holiday was not just a singer, but also a brave resistance fighter. The confession, "I was never free," went down in history not just as a personal cry of pain, but as a powerful accusation document against systemic injustice. These words, written in Lady Day's own hand, explain why her voice still resonates so powerfully. Every page in the diary is proof of how pain transforms into art, how courage is born in the face of bullying, and how hope stays alive even in the darkest times. Lady Day may not have been physically free, but her soul and music will remain free forever. This diary will continue to inspire every new generation as the most powerful document of her immortal legacy. Billie Holiday's voice was silenced, but her words still echo. The sentence "before they killed me, they tried to make me forget who I was" from her diaries is not just a painful memory of the past, but a legacy that lights the way to future hope. Lady Day was never free, but every song she sang for freedom, every word she wrote, continues to liberate millions of people today. This is perhaps the greatest victory, her voice living much longer than those who tried to silence her.